Ambassador Tak walked slowly through the curved hallways of the Galactic Alliance station. The blue lights overhead matched his dark mood. He had failed again to make the other species understand the danger. 5 years had passed since humans joined the Alliance. Earth had been amazed to learn they weren't alone in the universe. The Alliance had been equally surprised by humans, a species that combined the traits of both predator and prey. Tak reached the observation deck and stared at the stars. Behind him, the door opened with a soft hiss. "I thought I'd find you here," said a familiar voice. Tak turned to see Admiral Sun Hee-ju. Her uniform was crisp, her posture perfect as always, but her eyes held concern. "The council meeting didn't go well," Tak said. "I guessed that from your message." Ju moved beside him to look out at the stars. "They still won't take action against the Krell." Tak shook his head. They suggested another diplomatic mission. As if the last 3 worked so well. The Krell were the only true predator species the Alliance had encountered before humans. Unlike humans, who had evolved to be both hunters and cooperative builders, the Krell were pure hunters. They took what they wanted and viewed other species as either threats or resources. "The Alliance doesn't understand creatures like the Krell," Ju said. "Most Alliance species evolved as prey. Their instinct is to run or hide, not fight." "And when you can't run?" Tak asked. "Then you die," Ju said simply. "That's what they're afraid of. Their history is filled with species that tried to fight predators and lost." Tak turned from the window. "But our history is different. Humans know what it's like to be both the hunter and the hunted." A small group of Alliance members entered the observation deck. They gave the humans a wide berth, their body language showing discomfort. One of them, a tall blue-skinned diplomat, whispered something that made the others look nervously at Tak and Ju. "They're still afraid of us," Tak said quietly. "Can you blame them?" Ju asked. "Humans are confusing to them. We can be gentle and kind one moment, fierce and aggressive the next. But that's what they need right now," Tak insisted. "The Krell won't stop taking territory. They see the Alliance's peaceful approach as weakness." A soft chime sounded from Ju's pocket. She pulled out her communication device and frowned at the message. "Speaking of the Krell," she said, showing the screen to Tak. "They've taken another system. This one had an Alliance research outpost." "Any casualties?" Tak asked, suddenly alert. "Unknown. Communications were cut off. The Alliance is sending a diplomatic vessel to discuss terms." "Discuss terms?" Tak's voice rose, drawing looks from the other species on the deck. "They should be sending warships." One of the aliens, a small furry creature with large eyes, squeaked in fear and hurried away. Ju took Tak's arm and led him to a quieter corner. "You're scaring them." "Good. Maybe fear will make them act for once." "That's not how they work," Ju reminded him. "Fear makes them freeze or run, not fight." Tak took a deep breath, trying to calm himself. There were humans at that research outpost. Scientists. Civilians. "I know," Ju said. "The Sentinel is the closest ship. We're being redirected to investigate." The Sentinel was Earth's first contribution to the Alliance fleet. While classified as a diplomatic vessel to satisfy Alliance concerns, it carried weapons and defenses far beyond what most Alliance ships possessed. "I'm coming with you," Tak decided. "The Council won't approve. They'll want you here for discussions. Let them discuss. I'm the human ambassador, and humans are in danger." Tak's expression hardened. "The Alliance needs to see what happens when you threaten what humans care about." Ju studied him for a moment, then nodded. "We leave in 2 hours." As they walked toward the docking bay, they passed more Alliance members. The different species, some with tentacles, others with fur or scales, all watched the humans with a mixture of curiosity and unease. "They don't understand us," Tak said quietly. "No," Ju agreed, "but they might soon." "What do you mean?" Ju's face was grim. "The Krell have never attacked humans before. They don't know what they've done." And what have they done? Tak asked, though he already knew the answer. Zhu stopped walking and turned to face him. They've made humans angry. And the universe hasn't seen that yet. The lights of the station seemed to dim around them as they continued toward the Sentinel. In 2 hours, they would head toward the captured outpost, and the Alliance would learn why even the stars seemed to shiver when humans got angry. The Sentinel moved through space like a sleek, dark shark. Unlike the rounded, colorful ships of the Alliance, the human vessel had sharp angles and hidden weapons. Admiral Zhu watched as stars streaked past on the main screen. How much longer until we reach Outpost Theta? She asked. First Officer Hyun checked his display. 3 hours at current speed. Zhu nodded and turned to Ambassador Tak, who stood quietly at the back of the bridge. You should rest. There's a cabin prepared for you. I'm fine here, Tak replied. He hadn't slept since they'd left the Alliance station. The bridge crew worked efficiently around them. Most were human, but a few Alliance specialists served as advisors. The difference between them was clear. The Alliance members moved carefully, speaking softly, while the humans were direct and sometimes loud. An Alliance officer named Lith approached Zhu nervously. His thin body swayed slightly, and his large eyes blinked rapidly. Admiral, may I speak freely? He asked. Always, Zhu said. The crew is concerned about your intentions at Outpost Theta. Alliance protocol suggests observation only. Zhu smiled, but there was no warmth in it. We will observe the situation and respond accordingly. Lith's skin paled slightly. Respond. But Alliance Command has not authorized. I'm authorized to protect human lives, Zhu interrupted, and I will. Lith backed away, clearly uncomfortable. He returned to his station and whispered to the other Alliance officers. Tak moved closer to Zhu. You're scaring them. They should be scared, Zhu said quietly. Not of us, but of what happens if we do nothing. The journey continued in tense silence. When they finally arrived at Outpost Theta, they found 2 ships already there, a small Alliance diplomatic vessel and a much larger Krell warship. Open communications, Zhu ordered. The screen flickered to show an Alliance diplomat. His tentacles twisted anxiously when he saw Zhu. Admiral, your presence is unexpected. We are handling the situation. What situation exactly? Zhu asked. The diplomat hesitated. A minor territorial disagreement. The Krell have claimed this sector, but we're negotiating terms for the research outpost. Claimed. Tak stepped forward. This sector has been Alliance space for over 50 years. Yes. Well, borders change, the diplomat said. The important thing is to avoid conflict. Zhu leaned forward. Are there still people on that outpost? Yes, but the Krell have generously allowed 3 days for evacuation. Generous. Zhu's voice was cold. How kind of them to give people 3 days to abandon their homes and work. The diplomat's tentacles curled tightly. Admiral, please. The Council insists on a diplomatic solution. Connect me to the Krell ship, Zhu said. That would be unwise. Zhu signaled her communications officer, who cut the connection and established a new one. The screen changed to show a Krell commander. The insect-like alien's hard exoskeleton gleamed under harsh lights, and its compound eyes seemed to examine everyone on the bridge at once. Human vessel, the Krell said, its voice clicking and hissing through the translator. Your presence is unnecessary. This matter concerns the Alliance. There are humans on that outpost, Zhu replied. That makes it my concern. The Krell's mandibles clicked. The creatures on the outpost will leave or be removed. This is Krell territory now. This is Alliance space, Zhu said firmly, recognized by all members of the Galactic Alliance, including Earth. Borders change, the Krell said, using the same words as the Alliance diplomat. The strong claim what they need. The weak accept what they must. Tak stepped forward. And which are humans, in your view? Strong or weak? The Krell studied him. Unknown. You are new. You hide behind Alliance protection. This suggests weakness. Ju smiled, and several Alliance officers on her bridge visibly shuddered at her expression. I suggest you research humans more carefully before making judgments, she said. The Krell commander made a sharp gesture, and the connection ended. They cut transmission. The communications officer reported. Admiral, Han said urgently, I'm detecting power surges from the Krell ship. Their weapons are activating. The Alliance officers gasped. One of them rushed forward. They've never attacked during negotiations before, he said. This isn't their pattern. It seems patterns change, Ju replied calmly. She turned to her weapons officer. Target their weapon systems only. Prepare to fire. The Sentinel's weapons lashed out with precision, striking the Krell ship's main gun. The larger vessel rocked from the impact. The Alliance diplomat was shouting on the screen, but Ju cut the transmission. She turned to her crew. Battle stations. Prepare boarding teams. We're going to protect that outpost. As the crew hurried to obey, Tak watched with a mixture of pride and concern. You know the Alliance Council will be furious, he said quietly. Ju looked at him, her eyes cold with controlled rage. Let them be furious. The Krell need to learn a lesson. What lesson is that? That some species fight back, she said. And when it comes to fighting for those we protect, humans are very, very good at it. Dr. Min Jin never wanted to be a soldier. All her life, she had been a scientist, studying alien plant life. She loved the peace of her lab in Outpost Theta, where she worked with researchers from 12 different species. Today, that peace shattered like glass. The first sign of trouble was the lights. They flickered, then turned red. Then came the station-wide alert. All personnel, this is not a drill. Krell forces have breached the outer ring. Proceed to emergency shelters. Jin looked up from her microscope. The 3 other scientists in her lab, 1 human and 2 aliens, stared at each other in shock. They wouldn't attack a research station, said Gallo, a furry Velner with 6 limbs. There must be a mistake. But the floor shook with a distant explosion, proving this was no mistake. Jin moved to the door. We need to get to the escape pods. As they hurried through the corridor, more explosions rocked the station. Frightened researchers from all different species ran past them. Some were crying. Others simply looked lost. This way, Jin called out, guiding a group of confused aliens toward the evacuation point. When they reached the main hall, they found chaos. Hundreds of researchers and staff crowded the area. At the center stood Lani, the station administrator. The tall Velner's usual calm was gone, replaced by visible fear. Please remain calm, Lani was saying. The Krell have demanded immediate surrender of the station. Alliance protocol is clear. We must comply to avoid loss of life. Jin pushed through the crowd. Have you called for help? The Sentinel is supposed to be nearby. Communications are jammed, Lani replied. And even if they weren't, what could one ship do? We must follow protocol. A loud bang echoed through the hall. Everyone froze. The sound came again. Metal being cut through. They're breaking in, someone whispered. Jin looked around at the terrified faces. Most Alliance species had evolved as prey animals. Their instinct when faced with danger was to freeze or run. But there was nowhere to run on a space station. She turned to spot the other humans in the crowd. There weren't many, maybe 15 total on the whole station. But she caught their eyes, one by one, and saw the same determination forming. I need every human in the storage room now, she said clearly. As the humans followed her, an Alliance security officer, a tall bird-like being, tried to stop them. Where are you going? We must all stay together. We're going to buy you time, Jin said. In the storage room, Jin quickly outlined her plan. The station had no weapons. Alliance policy forbade them, but they had tools and supplies. We need to slow them down, she explained, handing out heavy wrenches, cutting tools, and maintenance equipment. If we can hold them off long enough, Maybe we can get a message out. Park, a maintenance worker, nodded. The emergency transmitter in Section 4 might work. It has its own power supply. Good, Jin said. You and Kim try to reach it. The rest of us will create distractions. The station shook again. Through the walls came the sound of metal being torn apart. They're in, someone whispered. Jin looked at her fellow humans, scientists, cooks, janitors. None were soldiers, but something had changed in all of them. Their backs straightened. Their faces hardened. Remember, she said quietly, we're fighting for everyone on this station, not just humans. They nodded, gripping their makeshift weapons. An Alliance observer named Trill had followed them. The small green alien watched with wide eyes. What are you doing? He asked. You cannot fight Krell. They are apex predators. Jin smiled grimly. So were we once. Admiral. The Alliance diplomat had reopened communications and looked horrified. What are you doing? Alliance protocol forbids aggressive action. I'm not Alliance. Ju reminded him. I'm human. The Krell ship fired a beam of energy toward the outpost. It struck one of the outer domes, causing it to rupture. Tiny figures could be seen being pulled into space. They're killing the scientists, Tak whispered. Ju's face hardened. Fire. The humans split into small groups, moving to different sections of the station. Jin led 3 others to the main corridor, where they could hear the Krell approaching. Seal every door after we pass, she instructed. Make them work for every meter. The first Krell warriors came around the corner. They were taller than humans, with hard exoskeletons and multiple limbs that ended in sharp claws. Their compound eyes gleamed in the emergency lights. Jin felt a primal fear rise in her chest. Every instinct screamed to run. But another feeling rose stronger, rage. These creatures threatened her home, her colleagues, her work. Now, she shouted. Chen, a botanist, threw a container of highly concentrated fertilizer. When it hit the floor in front of the Krell, it burst into caustic fumes. The Krell warriors staggered, momentarily blinded. The humans attacked with their makeshift weapons. Jin swung a heavy wrench, feeling it connect with the hard shell of a Krell warrior. The creature hissed in surprise. Impossible. The lead Krell chittered, its translator making the word sound mechanical. The Alliance never fights. Jin hit it again, cracking its armor. We're not the Alliance. The humans retreated behind a pressure door, sealing it behind them. Through the small window, they saw the Krell begin cutting through. That won't hold them long, Chen said, catching his breath. It doesn't need to, Jin replied. We just need time. Throughout the station, the other humans were doing the same, fighting, retreating, sealing doors, creating chaos where the Krell expected easy surrender. Trill, the Alliance observer, had followed Jin's group. He watched with a mixture of fear and amazement. I don't understand, he said. Yesterday you were gentle scientists. Today you fight like warriors. Jin checked a wound on her arm where a Krell claw had caught her. Humans can be both. But how can you change so quickly? It's like watching different creatures. Jin thought for a moment. Humans adapt. We're predator and prey, builder and destroyer. We prefer peace, but we know war. The door began to glow red as the Krell cut through. Jin and her team prepared for another fighting retreat. They will kill you, Trill warned. Maybe, Jin agreed, but they'll remember us. As the door fell and the Krell pushed through, Jin felt strangely calm. Behind her, somewhere in the station, she heard an alarm sound. The escape pods were launching. They had bought time. Now they just needed to survive. The Sentinel's engines burned hot as it pushed toward Outpost Theta. On the bridge, Admiral Ju stood perfectly still, watching the battle display. A weak distress signal had broken through the Krell jamming, just enough to know that humans were fighting for their lives. Main Krell vessel is still in position, reported Officer Hyun. They have not detected us yet. Good, Ju said. Maintain stealth approach. Ready boarding teams. Ambassador Tak watched the crew prepare. The humans moved with quick, precise movements. Their faces showed focus, not fear. The Alliance will view this as an act of war, Tak warned quietly. Ju didn't look away from the display. I'm not letting our people die while diplomats talk. I know, Tak said. I'm not arguing against action. I'm simply stating facts. Ju finally turned to him. When I took command of this ship, I swore to protect human lives. That oath means more to me than Alliance protocols. The communications officer called out, Admiral, we're receiving a clearer signal from the station. Dr. Jin's face appeared on screen. She was bleeding from a cut above her eye, and smoke filled the background. Sentinel, can you hear us? We read you, Doctor, Ju replied. Status report. We've evacuated most non-human personnel via escape pods, Jin said, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. The remaining humans are holding key sections, but we're outnumbered. The Krell are trying to take the main control room. Hold your position, Ju ordered. Help is coming. As the transmission ended, Tak noticed the bridge had gone silent. Every human crew member had heard Jin's report. Their expressions had changed, hardened with resolve. Boarding teams to launch bay, Ju commanded. We strike in 5 minutes. The Sentinel moved into position behind a larger Krell ship. 6 small, armored shuttles launched silently, racing toward different parts of the station. Their ship has detected us, Hyun reported. They're powering weapons. Target their engines and fire, Ju ordered. The Sentinel's weapons struck with surgical precision. The Krell ship's engines flared and died, leaving it drifting. Inside the station, Dr. Jin and her group of scientists had barricaded themselves in the medical bay. They had managed to save 3 injured Alliance researchers who couldn't reach the escape pods. The door won't hold much longer, Chen said, watching the metal bulge inward as Krell warriors tried to force it open. Jin checked her makeshift weapon, a metal pole with a sharpened end. Then we make our last stand here. Suddenly, the pounding stopped. They heard strange sounds from the corridor, hissing, chittering, and a new sound, the sharp crack of human weapons. The door slid open, and they raised their makeshift weapons, then lowered them in relief. A team of armored humans stood in the doorway, their uniforms bearing the Sentinel's insignia. Medical bay secure, the team leader reported into her comm. We found survivors, including Dr. Jin. Throughout the station, similar scenes unfolded. Human combat teams moved with speed and precision, clearing corridors and securing key sections. The Krell, expecting the usual Alliance surrender, were unprepared for human tactics. Commander Dak, leader of the Krell forces, watched in confusion as reports came in. His warriors were being pushed back on all fronts. Impossible, he hissed. These are scientists, not warriors. They fight differently, his second-in-command reported. They do not follow Alliance patterns. They are aggressive, coordinated. They are prey, Dak insisted. All Alliance species are prey. These humans are not like other Alliance species, came the reply. On the command deck of the Sentinel, Ju watched the operation unfold. Her boarding teams had secured over half the station. The Krell were being pushed back toward their entry points. Admiral, Hyun called out. Team 3 reports they've sealed Section 12. 20 Krell warriors are trapped inside. Ju nodded. Vent the atmosphere. The Alliance observer on the bridge gasped. You would kill prisoners. They're not prisoners, Ju replied coldly. They're invaders who murdered civilians. Tak placed a hand on the observer's shoulder. This is war, not a diplomatic negotiation. In Section 12, the trapped Krell warriors scratched desperately at the sealed doors as the air was sucked out into space. Their armored bodies, evolved for combat, were not designed to survive vacuum. Commander Dak received the report of their deaths with shock. The Krell had never faced an enemy who would use such tactics. In their culture, combat was direct, honorable. This calculated execution was something new. All units, return to the ship, he ordered. We must reassess. As the surviving Krell retreated, human teams secured the final sections of the station. Medical units treated the wounded, both human and alien. Engineers worked to restore life support and communications. On the Sentinel's bridge, the Alliance diplomat who had been negotiating with the Krell appeared on screen. His tentacles were wrapped tightly around his body in distress. "Admiral Ju," he said, "what have you done? This violence, this bloodshed, it goes against everything the Alliance stands for. What would you have done?" Ju asked. "Let them slaughter everyone." "We would have negotiated," the diplomat insisted, "found a peaceful solution." Dr. Jin had been brought to the bridge. Her clothes were torn and bloody, but she stood tall. "There was no peaceful solution," she said. "The Krell came to take, not to talk." The Alliance diplomat stared at the humans with a mixture of fear and confusion. He turned to Tak. What just happened here?" Tak's face was solemn. "The Krell discovered what happens when humans get angry." The diplomat shuddered. "And what is that?" "The universe shivers," Tak said simply. Ambassador Tak straightened his formal robe as he prepared to enter the Great Chamber. The last 3 months had been difficult. After the battle at Outpost Theta, many Alliance species had called for humans to be removed from the Alliance. "Ready?" Admiral Ju asked, joining him in the waiting area. She wore her dress uniform, medals gleaming on her chest. "As ready as I'll ever be," Tak replied. The doors to the chamber opened. Inside, representatives from all 17 Alliance species sat in rising tiers. Their eyes, some large and round, others compound or slitted, all turned to watch the humans enter. Senior Counselor Sith sat at the center. Her gray tentacles were decorated with the silver bands of her office. "Ambassador Tak, Admiral Ju," she said, her voice translated into perfect human speech. "The Council has reviewed all reports of the Theta incident. We are prepared to deliver our judgment." Tak felt his heart beat faster but kept his face calm. Beside him, Ju stood tall, unafraid. "The Council has decided," Sith continued, "that humanity will remain part of the Alliance." A murmur ran through the chamber. Not everyone agreed with this decision. However, Sith raised a tentacle for silence. "There will be changes in how humans integrate with our shared society." The chamber grew quiet as Sith explained the new arrangement. Human military vessels would now be officially recognized as part of Alliance defense forces. In return, humans would work more closely with Alliance diplomats before taking action. "The Krell have withdrawn from the systems they claimed," Sith said, "and they have requested direct diplomatic relations with Earth." This news caused another stir in the chamber. The Krell had never asked for diplomatic ties with any single species before. "They fear you," said a representative from the bird-like Avar species. He didn't sound approving. "No," Tak corrected. "They respect us. There's a difference." After the session ended, Tak and Ju walked through the great glass corridors of the Alliance station. Alliance members moved aside as they passed, giving them more space than before. "They look at us differently now," Ju said quietly. "Yes," Tak agreed, "with more respect, but also more caution." They stopped at a viewing window. Earth was visible as a small blue dot in the distance. "Was it worth it?" Ju asked. "The fighting, the deaths." Tak thought about the scientists who had died defending Outpost Theta. He thought about the Krell warriors who had been killed when the humans vented the atmosphere. "I don't know," he admitted, "but I do know that more would have died if we hadn't acted, and the Krell would have kept taking." A group of young Alliance cadets passed by. Unlike the adults, they didn't shy away from the humans. One of them, a small Velner with soft fur, actually waved at Ju. "They'll grow up with a different view of humans," Tak observed. "Good," said Ju. "They should know we're protectors, not just warriors." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Dr. Jin. She had become something of a hero among both humans and Alliance species. Her arm was still in a healing sleeve from her injuries during the battle. "The Council has approved my proposal," she announced happily. "We're establishing a new research outpost. This one will have proper defenses." "That's excellent news," Tak said. "And the best part," Jin continued, "is that 3 times as many Alliance scientists have volunteered to work with humans now. They say they feel safer with us." Later that evening, Tak met with Sith privately. The senior counselor seemed tired, her tentacles moving slowly. "Your species confuses us, Ambassador," she admitted. "You create beautiful art and music. You care deeply for children and the weak. Yet you fight with such ferocity." "It's because we care that we fight," Tak explained. "Humans protect what matters to us." "The Krell's lead diplomat asked me a question today," Sith said. "He wanted to know if humans always respond with such violence." "What did you tell them?" "I said that humans prefer peace, but when threatened, especially when their friends are threatened, the universe itself seems to shiver with their rage." Tak smiled slightly. "A poetic way to put it. The phrase has caught on," Sith said. "In trade posts and diplomatic stations across Alliance space, they say, 'The universe shivers when humans get angry.' Let's hope they also remember the second part," Tak said. "What second part?" "That only threats need fear the tremors." 6 months later, a Krell exploration ship encountered a damaged human transport vessel near the borders of Alliance space. In the past, such a ship would have been easy prey. This time, the Krell ship sent a message. "Do you require assistance?" When the Alliance Council heard of this, many were surprised. The Krell had never offered help before. But Ambassador Tak wasn't surprised. He understood what had happened at Outpost Theta. The Krell had learned something important about humans, something the Alliance was learning too. Humans would fight fiercely to protect what they valued. But they would also extend a hand in peace afterward. As more human ships joined Alliance patrols, reports of border incidents decreased. Alliance members who had once feared human aggression began to appreciate human protection. And across the galaxy, in trading posts and diplomatic lounges, people whispered the phrase that had begun after Theta. "The universe shivers when humans get angry, but only threats need fear the tremors." The end.